You won't believe what we have been arguing about behind the cameras. You will not believe.
No. Oh, yeah.
All right, let's get into our first discussion, the first leg of
Yes.
discussion this morning. Now, press freedom dictates that the media is about or is able to carry out its social responsibility of reporting events as they are without interference and fear. But crimes against journalists, intimidation, physical assaults remain major concerns for many journalists in Nigeria and even in parts of Africa.
Yes, indeed. According to the 2018 World Press Freedom Index report released by Reporters Without Borders, it showed that Nigeria is not in the top 30 countries of the world where journalists enjoy press freedom. Now, for the African continent, Ghana ranks 23rd in the world, followed by Namibia at the 26th position. South Africa in the 28th position. Well, the index showed that Nigeria moved 3 places up from the 122nd position in 2017, ranking 119th in press freedom out of 180 countries.
And 111 in 2016. How can Nigeria guarantee a free press? That's a big question there. Now, we have joining us, we still have Dr. Dana Kere of the University of Lagos. And joining us is also the Associate Editor of the Nation newspaper, Dari Odufonwoko. Good morning, Dari.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Now, I think let me start with you, Dari. When they talk about press freedom or freedom of the press, what really constitutes ideally the freedom of the press in that context?
Yeah, thank you. I would say freedom of the press really is just the principle of an independent media, a media that is able, without influence, to report events and developments, which we call news, as it is. A free press, for example, will help deepen a lot of deepen all other institutions, especially in a democracy. There actually cannot be a democracy in the real sense of it without a press that is free, without a media that is able to function properly in the real sense of the word properly. Because where you have a media that is usually gagged, where the press is conditioned, sometimes it's not as if you find media men or journalists being stopped through violent means, but there is actually more to a press that is not free than the display of violence, where you are conditioned by certain rules. At times there are not even rules.
Unwritten rules.
Unwritten rules or mere assumptions, body languages, where you have a system or an administration or a government that gives the impression that we cannot guarantee. Like an African president once said, I can guarantee your freedom before you say what you have to say, but I cannot guarantee your freedom after that.
Yeah.
That's some sort of body language, some sort of disposition
that
was
credited to Idi Amin.
Yes,
that tells you that, well, go ahead and say whatever you want to say, but then
you have,
after that you'll be on your own.
You'll pay for it. Okay, now, Dari, let me still stay with you. Keeping power in check, that's this year's theme.
Yeah.
Media, justice, and the rule of law. How appropriate really is this for a country like Nigeria?
We need it. At a time like this especially. Absolute power, they say, corrupts absolutely. And one of the agencies or one of the tools of democracy that can help keep those we have vested our collective powers, because power belongs to the people.
Yeah.
The few people we put in positions are actually acting or are supposed to be acting on our behalf. But when you submit, if you go through the Nigerian Constitution to understand the kind of power being exercised by the man called president in Nigeria, you find out how awesome it is. So when you surrender such huge authority, enormous power to an individual. There is great need to keep such a person
in check,
and such an institution in check. So we can't have a better theme at a time like this as we walk towards another election year. We can have a better team.
Dr. Dana Kere, let me bring this to you. I mean, from your standpoint, how would you assess press freedom in Nigeria?
Well, thank you for that question. To start with, I want to put it on record that there is no freedom without limitation. Because when freedom is not guided, it becomes, lawlessness.
Yes.
In fact, it will lead to anarchy. So there certainly will be rules that will guide the operations of the press.
Definitely.
However, coming to Nigeria with respect to press freedom, I do not think that the press is free enough to do its work the way it should be done, because it will entail even the ability to access information. I remember clearly that over a long period of time, there was this issue with respect to freedom of information bill.
Yeah.
And I think eventually it was passed. But I doubt if we have been able to actually, put it into practice. Because to date, there has been issues about the wages of the National Assembly, which has been so opaque. Nobody seems to know the exact take-home pay of a
just until Shehu Sani,
even the one Shehu Sani said is not the
came out with
that is just what do they call it, running cost. Running cost is not the same thing as your total emoluments. So we don't even know. And ordinarily, where there is freedom of the press, such information is something that the press will be able to access. Then I recall clearly too that during Obasanjo or Atiku's aides molested some journalists sometimes. That the press generally, they took a position that if Atiku does not make a U-turn by way of apology and the rest, that they were going to, back out completely from all his, operations.
And blacklisting.
Yes, it's kind of blacklisting, So eventually, I think he did. We've equally seen where, media houses have been threatened, where there is threat of shutdown and all the rest, such that your operations, somehow you are even afraid to say things the way they are, that when people even come on board, just like we are here now, sometimes you want to guide
that's what Dari meant by, the body language
so you want to guide. This one is not
power.
even the one of the journalists now. I'm talking about me, who is not a journalist. Coming here, you want to guide what I will say, in a way, So those things are there. So to a large extent, that freedom that ought to be. And I remember somebody like Dennis Didora said that there is no disadvantage with press freedom. That if there's anything at all that you can call disadvantage with press freedom, it is going to be very minimal. So inconsequential that what you really need for a government, particularly a democratic government, to function is press freedom. But we've not had that. But again, that freedom equally does not mean that you report, like some sensational headlines we used to see, because sometimes your reporting can even create more problems for the state. So all of that have to be factored into the press freedom we're talking about.
All right, Dari, when it comes to, let's remain within the confines of journalism itself or the media itself, even without the issues of interferences. Do you think that journalism, those who practice it, have lived up to their expectation, lived up to their billings as to what it's supposed to be in the first place?
Yeah, thank you. We're now looking at what I would say, one of the components of press freedom. Because when you expect a man to live up to certain billings, there are certain expectations too such a man will have from you. Right. I want to put it on record that Nigerian journalists actually among the most hardworking media practitioners I've seen. We've been out of this country to see other practitioners. We've practiced outside this country. We are in a position to make comparison. I want to say that amidst a lot of difficulties, Nigerian journalists find ways. In the newsroom, we do joke that Nigerian journalists are like magicians. Somehow you make it happen.
You draw water out of stone.
Miracle workers.
I've been to some newsrooms where practically even learning Journalism should not take place there. But people stay there and practice journalism. So I want to give credit, give some kudos to that. However, the environment has not been very helpful. And thereby one cannot really say that we are giving out our best as practitioners.
What is limiting the average journalist from actually giving out?
Specifically, Nigerian journalists are being limited by a lot of things.
Yeah, like what?
One of such is what we are talking about today. The press in Nigeria is not free.
Yeah.
There is no, it's either you are free or you are not free. You cannot begin to quantify freedom as it relates to practicing journalism. Journalism is not banking. It's not medicine.
Is lack of training part of the restrictive factors here?
I would say lack of self-development.
Yeah.
Because before you are a journalist in Nigeria, there are certain qualifications you should get. However, when you are on the job and you want to give your best, you should develop yourself. There are so many avenues that this can be done, but Nigerian journalists, a good number of us, are actually not taking advantages that will help us develop. But if you also look at that, it also borders on the issue of remuneration. Nigerian journalists are not among the best paid in the world. I'm not sure they're among the best paid in Africa. And we should give kudos to some of our organizations that we can beat our chest and say, where I work, salary is regular. I can say that. But not many of our colleagues out there can say this. You find people holding months. Journalists have been hold years. So when you see some of us smiling and coming up here,
suffering and smiling.
Yes, but when you are paid,
your
organization, it may not be what you expect, but it's regular. Then you will be able to take some of this thing, this fund to develop yourself. Where that is not available, self-development is zero. Where the facilities to practice
are not
even there, giving your utmost best is nearly impossible. So if you now find a group of professionals like Nigerian journalists who manage to survive in such difficult terrain, then one should say we aren't doing badly. We aren't doing badly.
Okay.
It can only
We're
get
not
better.
doing that badly. But where are the Peter Pans of today? The daily
the three musketeers of those days.
The three musketeers.
You can't compare that era
with
to
now.
what we have
okay,
now.
Dr. Danekere, the president said recently, still in the U.S., that the Nigerian media, all they do is really just, twist what you say, pick what they think they should pick, and they don't really necessarily put out the facts out there for people to make the right kind of judgment. That is my own additional. You see, I'm now practicing journalism. I'm not guilty of exactly. That is my deduction.
There is surely no way you can report the situation without your own perspective coming to bear.
Okay.
It is not possible. Even history. If I'm going to write about this place that, there's somebody calling, I'm certainly going to describe it from a perspective. And I'm equally going to analyze this place from a perspective. So that will always come. But a situation where you are always misunderstood, it means you are not even communicating. If every time you talk, you are always misunderstood, then learn to communicate well so that people understand you clearly. So if that is a statement from the presidency that is always misquoted or misunderstood, then there is a problem with communication. No, but he equally has media, officers. So all of that.
Who are trained journalists.
Yes.
With
so
experience.
if they are equally communicating in a manner that the people still cannot understand, then there is a big problem there. So I do not think that he is being misquoted or being misunderstood. Now, there is a difference between intention and the actual act. So if what you have, because sometimes you have something in mind that what you are saying is different. So if what is in mind is different from what comes out of, is what comes out that we are going to analyze. That's when it's going to be reported. So I think that has been the situation.
Yes.
But beyond that, you see, on the issue of, the journalists, he made a very good point that self-development is important. But you find out that there are organizations where you do not have room for that. Because for instance, maybe you hold a diploma, you hold a first degree, and the rest, you want to go for further. There are organizations that do not even give you room for any further studies. So you are going to have that challenge. Now, must you always be the one sponsoring yourself? What about the place or the environment you work, the organization you work with? So they should be able to provide, because go to every oil company, they will always ensure that you go for further trainings. The university has produced you, but that will not make you fit into the system. They will need to give you more training. So even the organizations should equally create that that ambience for workers to be trained and retrained and retrained in order for them to be more efficient in what they do, because if they are very efficient, the tendency is that it's going to
rub off
game.
on the profession itself. Now, Dari, the issue of exposure is there. We have unions of journalism union, the Nigerian Union of Journalists is there. There are other
women in journalism,
Ratau. There are all different unions within the media space. Taking it from that perspective, when you say that journalists sometimes don't find they're not exposed to training and all of that, what kind of benefits do journalists get from all of these unions they are involved in, if not creating room and avenue or environment for them to be exposed?
Well, you see, like in every other workplace or in every other sector, the desirability or otherwise of some of these unions is quite debatable. As somebody who has been involved in unionism in the NUJ, that's the Nigerian Union of Journalists, I make bold to say that the NUJ still has a long way to go to meet the desires, the demands of its members.
But it is made up of very experienced journalists.
As it were, as it were. Experience will not count until it translates to, I mean, you touching the lives of people who have, you know, it's just like what I said earlier, that when you entrust a collective power in an individual, in an institution, journalists come together and say, okay, we are members of the NUJ, take charge of the affairs, not just of our work at that point, our lives.
Yeah.
Because whatever happens to an individual in the workplace affects the entirety of who he or she is. But are these unions really representing as they should? Like I said, it's debatable. We have organizations that have not paid for months.
What are they doing about it?
What has NUJ done? We have organizations where the tools of trade and available. What help has been rendered to such places? It is when these unions, you see, people want to blame the management. And I say, no. I work in the media industry and I can tell you that you can conveniently say that the management is even more welfare oriented than the union. Because no management will look the union in the face and say, look, you are troubling us when you ask for welfare. But when you don't know how to go about it and you think being confrontational is the way to get things from your management, then you are already missing the point. It's a collective thing. You work with the management of the organization to work out things that will make life easier for the member. But where the union is more concerned about what it gets from its member than what it does for the members, then we have a big problem. And that in itself will not engender press freedom. Because if media practitioners are not free to question the running of their own union, if media practitioners are not bold to say we have transparency in our own union, from the national to state to the chapters
and whatever.
I want to give, because I've said this, I must give kudos to the new NUJ chairman in Lagos State, Dr. Akinreti, who came in barely a year ago. He's turning things around and he's trying really to take the union to the place it should be. I've been a chapel chairman and some of us opted out because we could see that we actually don't fit in into what goes on there. But since he came around, I didn't vote for him when he was contesting because I was disenchanted with the whole process. But I'm proud that I didn't vote against him because he's doing things. So we need, like, it's good you are bringing this up. You cannot talk about press freedom in any organization without strong, virile, and supportive unions to aid the individual journalists in the discharge of their duty. And that will take me to what you said about Mr. President once again talking from diaspora. It's the practice now. And talking about Nigerian journalists as the only peak. Sensationalism is not peculiar to Nigerian journalism. Sensationalism. It's part of journalism, and that's why we have rules guiding this profession. You should know your limits as a journalist when it comes to sensationalizing stories. So if you pick foreign tabloids, you will see sensationalism. You will see premeditation. And it's not strange that and I think Doctor just summarized it. If you can't communicate with me, for me to understand what you are saying, I'll pick what I can understand.
And I can make my
to report to you
from there.
I have a duty to do.
Let me bring this to you. Yes, let me cut you there. The concept of fake news. Fake news is a phrase that has found its way into lexicon. Of course, I don't know if it's original to Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, but he's popularized it, and it's been re-echoed in Nigeria. Every now and again, we hear the information minister, Lai Mohammed, talk about, oh, it's fake news, and this fake news people, look, the tendency is they're actually worsening the whole herdsmen issues, for example. The media actually has been blamed for that. Yeah. So how do you do a balancing act between reporting the facts and bearing in mind the consequences, especially for a country like Nigeria? We're facing insecurity on almost every front, if not every front. How do we create that balancing act? Yes,
the issue of fake news and what have you, a number of times when you don't make information available to people, there's a likelihood that people will conjecture. People will begin to imagine, and that could bring about some form of falsehood, into the scene. So it is important that every public office should equally be able to live up to its bidding, such that people get properly informed about activities in such places. Now, on the issue of how the media has reported some of these issues, particularly with respect to the killings and all the rest. Yes. I want to say that, but for the media, the killing would have been more than this. If the media had not taken this aggressive role they have, I'm very convinced that the killing would have been more. Because even while the killing is going on, it seems as if there was no serious concern from the authorities, And as we speak, the thing is still going on, and rather than address the challenges, sometimes you begin to hear such pacifying kind of, statements from government that will tend to suggest that they have dealt with the entire situation and that every other thing that is being reported is fake. Whereas those who are dying, the relations are crying every day. Yeah. And what the media has been reporting, the only area you can begin to raise issue is the number of deaths, for instance. But in some cases, eyewitnesses will say 20 people were killed. Then the government agencies will say they were 10. All right? And in most cases, those from the government perspective who want to put your manner of official, whatever it is.
Are you getting it?
So which one is the fake then?
Been reporting different. I mean, they've been putting out different.
Are you getting it? So even the question of fake news, the fakeness can even be on the government side as well. It's not always on the side of the media itself. So when you create that fake environment for the media officers to operate, then they are going to give you fake reports.
All right.
So we have to
leave it here now. But certainly, let me ask you just in a few seconds, Dari, on a day like this, how do you commemorate? How best do we commemorate World Press Freedom Day?
We commemorate by asking for a free press.
Okay.
We can't just stop asking for a free press. In a country like Nigeria, in a situation like ours today, we must keep advocating. We must keep asking. We must keep
what about that
pushing.
media parley by the president? He seems not to be getting any.
No, this president is not disposed to that.
I think the media should take its own destiny in its own hands.
You need to press harder.
All right, Dr. Dan Nekere of the University of Lagos, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Dari Odufowokon, Associate Editor, The Nation newspaper. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, gentlemen.